Welcome to the Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. The book I'm looking at right now is a compelling tale of a young woman who must face her traumatic past after entering a strange new world. It's titled The Fall of Levrianne. It's written by Samantha Cutler, and Samantha is right here, so we get to talk all about the book. Samantha, welcome. Great to be talking with you.
Hi, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Samantha, can you tell me what readers are going to find whenever they get into The Fall of Levrianne?
Yes, you're going to find a fantasy story of a young girl who is dealing with grief and all the random struggles of a teenage girl living in our time. But the difference is she falls into another world where Mother Nature lives, and that just adds a bunch of new struggles into her life on top of her grief and on top of the normal teen angst and drama and everything. So it's very exciting that way. It's full of twists and turns and mystery and elemental magic.
So fantasy fans are really going to love this. Would you say this is kind of a young adult kind of thing?
Yeah, it's young adult, middle grade. It works great for too. My little sister, she is 10 and she loved it so much.
Where'd the idea for this come from? How were you motivated or inspired to start it?
I had a dream. I love the snow. I love weather. I am sitting in rain right now, and it is my absolute favorite. But I had fun dreams of playing in snow and having snow powers when I was really little. And I built a kind of fantasy story in my head. And when I turned 13, I decided to write a book and make an outline. And it's basically all inspired from my love of the elements.
So this is your first published one then?
It is my first book. It's my debut. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Well, that's awesome. So was this a long journey that you were on from when you started writing it, clear up through when it got published and everything?
Yeah, it was probably 8 years of back and forth. I changed perspectives a lot. It was first person, then third person, then first person again. Yeah, I rewrote it 3 or 4 times. It was a big journey for me, but it was all fun.
You worked with a great publisher, Covenant Books. So, Samantha, when you were going through that publishing process, was there anything about that you would say was particularly challenging for you?
It was a struggle to get myself out there and to tell people about it because it was such a big, more secretive part of my life where nobody really knew what I was doing for so long. And then to just tell the world was a big change, but I had so much help. The actual publishing process was simple. Everything was fairly straightforward. I appreciated that.
It must have been a really special moment then whenever it finally paid off, the first copy came in, and you're holding The Fall of Levrianne in your hands for the first time, Samantha. What was that like for you?
It was thrilling. It was crazy. It was probably 10 o'clock at night, and I was just about to go to bed. And we had gotten home from an event, and I saw the package on the front door, and it was crazy. Life-changing moment.
And now that you're officially a published author, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I love getting to hear what people have to say about it. I love meeting people of all ages tell me how much the story has impacted them, how much they love the elemental magic parts, the grief journey part, the suspense. It's just been great to connect with readers in a new way.
So have you kicked around the idea of maybe a follow-up to this, maybe make it a series or some other sort of writing down the road?
Absolutely. I actually have book 2 coming out here in a couple months, which I'm really excited about. So it's going to be a trilogy.
Well, we have a lot of listeners right now who are authors just starting out. Samantha, would you maybe have some advice that you could offer to them?
Yeah, I think don't ever give up on it. You know, everybody is waiting their turn for the next big thing. Your time will come. It's still coming for me. It is just one step at a time. Don't give up on it. It is so rewarding when you finish a book and finish a manuscript. Yeah, just keep working on it. Don't ever give up on it.
Great advice. Well, this sounds like a great book. Again, it's titled The Fall of Levrianne. It's written by Samantha Cutler. published by Covenant Books, and available basically everywhere like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Samantha, it's been great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
John Jackson and Cheryl Threatt bring readers a compelling reflection on faith, patriotism, and divine purpose in their new book, All Roads Lead to Kashmir, The Message. And co-author John is sitting right here with me. We're going to talk all about the book. John, welcome to the show. It's great to be talking with you.
Thank you. It's great to be there.
John, can you tell me what you've written about in All Roads Lead to Kashmir?
Okay, yes, okay. This book is about basically the journey that I took with the Spirit of America Foundation, which was a 501c3 that was actually put into existence on 11/11/01, and it just chronicles all the steps and twists and turns that it took to complete this memorial and have it in Kashmir, Washington, where it sits today.
And John, what kinds of readers do you think would be really into this?
Anybody who's patriotic, anybody who's of Christian faith, anybody who's would like to read of things of that genre.
What was that motivation, that inspiration that made you say, hey, I really want to write this book?
Well, it kind of started for me well before 9/11 when I had a cousin that I grew up with my whole entire life that was lost on a commercial fishing boat. And, his body was never recovered. And so, being later on seeing 9/11 and knowing that a lot of bodies would never be recovered there, I kind of looked at that and decided that, I wanted to try and bring some closure to those families.
Well, John, when it comes to writing and being published and all of that, is this a new thing for you, or do you have some experience in it?
No experience, actually. It was new for me. I was kind of egged on by the city of Kashmir because, they kind of wanted to know the history of the memorial, how I got the pieces from the World Trade Center, how I got the pieces from the Pentagon, and, how it all, basically came together. And so that was a, perfect opportunity to kind of sit down and put that all down in writing.
So once you were there, you got started on it. Was this a long process overall for you, the writing, the publishing, and everything?
Yeah, it was more or less kind of like sitting down and just going step by step through the history of that journey that I took. And with Cheryl was kind of like, she was kind of interpreting what I was saying and putting it into writing. And so it took about 4 months, I think, not too long.
And you worked with a really good publisher, Christian Faith. John, once you started that publishing process with them, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of that for you?
Just some of the technical things that have to be done, working with computers and stuff like that. I'm kind of an old school guy. I'm an iron worker, not kind of really familiar with that world.
And then it finally was a finished product. That day came, your first copy came in, and you're holding All Roads Lead to Kashmir in your hands, John. What was that moment like for you?
It was kind of bittersweet in a way because, I got the book the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And so probably wasn't as exciting as it could have been.
And now that it's out there, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I felt like I was on this mission from God to bring this message to the people. And the rewarding part of it for me was just the fact that the feedback that I get from people who read the book and it says that it, kind of touched their heart. That's probably the thing that I appreciate the most.
When you look down the road, do you see yourself writing and publishing more, do you think?
Probably not. I'm not, much of into that kind of lifestyle, you'd say. I'm more into fabricating and building things with my hands and trying to write stories.
Would you call yourself a big reader? Do you read a lot?
I read a lot, mainly, on the computer and stuff, things that interest me. So not too much as far as, picking up books and trying to go through a book, but more just kind of reading on the level of just interesting things that kind of catch my eye.
Well, again, this book is titled All Roads Lead to Kashmir, The Message. It's written by John Jackson and Cheryl Threatt, published by Christian Faith Publishing. And available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and right down the street at your local bookshop. Well, John, thank you again for coming on the show and talking about your work. It's been great to chat with you.
I appreciate the call.
Readers will find a stirring coming-of-age adventure of loss, courage, and divine purpose in the new book by Sallie Barr. It's titled The Sailor and the Treasure Seeker. And we'll be talking all about it. Sallie is right here with me at the show. Sallie, welcome. Nice to be talking with you.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, too.
Sallie, I'm curious about The Sailor and the Treasure Seeker. Can you tell me what you've written about here?
Sure, I'd be happy to, actually. But I'll say first, if the readers know anything about the North Carolina coast, they'll see that I use some artistic license to move the Outer Banks further from the coast. But the story is about an orphan teenager who lives with his grandfather in a fishing village along the North Carolina coast. Because the boy and the grandfather are both experienced sailors, when a decision is made that will separate them, they decide to escape in an old borrowed fishing boat. A terrible storm causes the old boat to break up, and they're both tossed into the sea. Each believes the other has drowned. And the story is really about each one's perilous fight for survival and the characters who help them along the way.
Sounds great, Sallie. What kinds of readers do you think would be really into this?
My target audience is teenagers and young adults. When I was young, I loved reading thrilling adventure stories, especially when there was a small hint of romance. I remember walking between the bookshelves in my high school library, looking for exactly this kind of adventure where an absolutely terrifying experience has a happy ending.
Yeah, I've heard that advice a lot from authors. They say, if you want to write a great book, just write the kind of book that you would like to read. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
Yes.
So how did the idea, the inspiration, come on for this?
Well, when I feel a call to write, I sit down at my computer, and as I sit there, a story begins to unfold in my mind. I don't make an outline. I don't even write notes. I just begin to type, and the story flows through my fingers, and it's born on the paper. I develop the characters, describe them, and how each one makes the story come alive. And before long, I've developed the skeleton of a story.
Sallie, what does your writing background look like? Do you have a lot of experience doing this kind of thing?
Well, I started writing actually years ago. I was an artist, and my work was in a Lake Arrowhead gallery in California, and I gave that my focus. But there was a time when my husband and I moved from California to Tennessee, and that's when I just had this urge to write the stories that I felt the Lord gives me, and that's what happened. And I've done it now for years, first as my second choice of activity, and now as my first.
So once you sat down, you got started writing The Sailor and the Treasure Seeker. Was this a long journey for you overall? Just not only the writing, but also the publishing process and everything?
Oh, yes. The publishing process has been strenuous, to say the least. It's not my first book. My first book was a children's story called Sapphire the Squirrel Learns to Trust. But this one was such a deeper story to tell, and it took a long time to get through the publishing and edits and rewrites and all of that until I felt it was ready.
Yeah, you worked with a really great publisher, Christian Faith. What would you say was the most challenging part about that whole publishing end of things for you?
Well, probably the most challenging thing was my own response time. I had to think between every contact and think before I made a response. So being a little slower thinker on that, it took me a little longer. But I loved the people I worked with. They were very supportive. So we got it done.
And it's got a great cover. That's so important. So was that a smooth process for you to figure out what you wanted it to actually look like?
Well, it did take a few trials, and I did settle on finally on the one that they made for me, and I love it. But it was about the fourth one that I looked at.
Well, this sounds like a really exciting book. I think readers are really going to love it. Again, this is titled The Sailor and the Treasure Seeker. It's written by Sallie Barr and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So head on over to places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or down the street at your local bookshop. You'll be able to pick this up. Well, Sallie, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's been really nice to chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm holding a new novel. It's a tender and faith-filled story of parenting and purpose. It's the new book by Charles L. Jarrett Jr. titled Bringing Up Ieshia, the Daughter of My Elder Care Years, a novel. And Charles is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we'll be chatting all about it. Charles, welcome. Good to be talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Charles, can you tell me all about Bringing Up Ieshia, the Daughter of My Elder Care Years?
Yes, the book was an afterthought because I wanted to form a foundation to honor my wife after she had spent the last 4 years of her life in the nursing home. And I came up with the idea of the Rodema Bridge to Learning, but I didn't have a way to fund it. As I thought about that and talked to different people and made different observations around the nursing home, I came up with the idea of writing a book to fund the Rodema Bridge to Learning. The forming of the Bridge to Learning was not a difficult idea. I wanted to do that out of love for my wife, and came up with that idea as I observed some of the personnel in the nursing home taking care of her. Some of them were qualified to do what they were doing. Some of them seemed to be qualified at a higher skill level than what they were working at. So I came up with the idea of trying to be able to educate them, such as the CNAs, and make them LPNs. And the knowledgeable LPNs to educate them up to the RN level with the idea of increasing self-esteem, self-worth, and the idea of I will take better care of my patients because I know better, and so I will do better. And so when I thought about writing the book, I had no idea what to write about. But as I had been observing the nurses, I did notice one nurse that stood out above all the rest in that she was always presented herself very neatly. She always presented herself with knowledge. She was always very attractive. She was always dedicated to her work. And so as I was standing in the doorway of my wife's room one day, I was watching the nurses and saw her, and I said to myself, Rodema and I never had a daughter. But if we had had a daughter, she would have been just like this nurse. And so the wheel started turning to come up with a daughter that we never had. We had 3 sons. So the wheel started turning, trying to come up with idea for a daughter and how we would have raised her in our lifetime. And so that was the impetus for the book. And then having been a Christian, all of my adult life and Rodema as well, I wanted to have the Christian background shown as to how we would raise our children, and specifically how we would raise this little girl that came to us very late in life, because Rodema was about half of Sarah's age, and I was about half of Abraham's age when this child came to us. So she was a blessing in thought, and I tried to carry that blessing into the story of raising her according to God's divine plan. That's how we got started with the book.
Charles, do you have some advice that you could offer to all of the aspiring authors that are listening to us?
Well, I had to inspire myself, first of all, because I didn't consider myself to be an author. In my career, I'd had to do a lot of writing and things like that, but I still didn't think about that as being an author. So I had, first of all, inspire myself and convince myself of the need, and that I had an aim for writing the book, a goal for writing the book, a purpose for writing the book, and was hopeful that I could inspire people who really needed the information in the book to get the book. And that I was hoping even a small percentage of them would take the advice and straighten out their life and improve the lives of their children.
Well, again, this book is titled Bringing Up Ieshia, the Daughter of My Elder Care Years, a novel. It's written by Charles L. Jarrett Jr. and published by Christian Faith Publishing. pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or even right down the street at your local bookshop. Charles, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really great to talk with you.
It's been great to speak with you, sir. Thanks for calling.
Ieshia Richardson explores how the pain can easily turn to rage in her new collection of poems titled A Once Tortured Soul, Volume 2, Anger. Ieshia is here with me at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to talk all about her book. Ieshia, welcome. Really nice to be talking with you today.
Thank you very much for the welcome. It is really good to be talking to you as well, and I can't wait to get into this book.
And I can't wait to hear about it, Ieshia. So what are readers in store for when they get into A Once Tortured Soul?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I pray that everybody, that they listen to the title and know that there's going to be some trauma spoken about this book, because this book is the second installment in my 3-book poetry collection, and it basically gives insight into me reaching the anger stage in the grieving stages and my responses to various traumatic situations.
And as far as the readership that you were thinking about, would you say you wrote this primarily for people who have gone through the same kinds of things that you have?
Yes, absolutely. Grieving parents, trauma survivors, and pretty much anybody navigating loss.
So how did this all come about, Ieshia? How did you decide to write this and publish it?
Honestly, being obedient to God, and with the encouragement of my spiritual parents, Jacqueline and Anthony Pearson, to just step out and write about it, to write about the trauma and get it all out. That was what they encouraged me to do, and obedience and encouragement.
So prior to your first volume, did you have a lot of experience in the whole writing and publishing thing?
Not the publishing, but the writing definitely. I have been writing since I was 7 years old.
And so how long does it take you on a book like this, from when you sit down and get started on it clear up through when it's published and out there? Is it a long road for you?
I believe it was a long road due to the subject. The mental strain that I experienced from the loss itself that gave me the subject to write about, it was extremely difficult. So it took a lot longer than normal projects would take me, I believe. The poems written in this book were written over the past 15 years.
So you chose a great publisher to work with, Newman Springs. Ieshia, that publishing process, was there anything about that was particularly challenging for you?
The publishing process that was challenging, I would say just the anticipation, being extremely excited and ready for it to just all be done. But other than that, Newman Springs made it a very easy process. So, it wasn't any other strains other than anticipation.
And this is such a personal work for you. I could only imagine what was going through your head whenever the first copy comes in. You're holding it in your hands for the first time, Ieshia. What's that moment like?
I felt blessed. I felt truly blessed. And for me, at that moment, I looked at the book, I held it in my hand, I opened it up, I flipped all the pages, and I felt complete, at least for the first step. I felt like this was the first step. This was me being able to see the product that I had worked so hard to get together. And I was just very excited, grateful, and feeling very blessed.
I'm looking at the book right now, and the cover is really striking. You have some pretty powerful imagery there. How did that come together? What was your thinking on that?
Well, the cover is explained like this. I feel like when you're going through the stages of grief, it changes you. It changes you into a person you do not know, and no one or anything in life prepares us for. The cover is me essentially being suicidal, wanting to end it all, and also wanting to not end my life, but end the pain. And me walking away from my faith and what I've believed my whole life because of the trauma, because of the pain, because of the hurt.
So you have a third volume planned for this. Beyond that, do you think you'll be writing and publishing more down the road?
Absolutely. I have several projects that I'm working on right now. And the third volume to this particular collection is almost complete. And I am also working on a fantasy book, a manga, and a young adult story.
I think this book is something that a lot of readers are going to need in their lives. Again, it's titled A Once Tortured Soul, Volume 2, Anger. It's written by Ieshia Richardson and published by Newman Springs Publishing. Find it at places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Ieshia, it's been so nice to talk with you, to learn about your work. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you. Corey, you have been awesome, and I appreciate your time.
Joining me right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author Driton Morina. Driton, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to talk about your new book, Through the Flames of Kosovo. Can you tell me all about that?
Thank you. My book, Through the Flames of Kosovo, is a true story-based narrative that follows the life of a woman, Nana Jules, the mother Rosie, if I can directly say that in English. So it follows her life through hardship, war, and survival. It reflects not only her personal journey, but also the collective experience of the people of Kosovo during difficult historical periods, especially the last war in the late 1990s, 1998, 1999, and its aftermath. The book captures themes of suffering, resilience, sacrifice, and hope.
Driton, what sorts of readers do you think this would be best for?
I think this book is intended for a wide audience, including readers interested in real-life stories and historical narratives, people who want to understand the human side of the Kosovo War, younger generations who may not know these experiences or this kind of experiences. I think the Albanian diaspora as well, because there are a lot of people from Kosovo, from Albania, all other Albanian territories who moved outside abroad in the United States, America, in Australia, New Zealand, and worldwide. They can read in English, and I think this book can reach all of them.
So what was your motivation, your inspiration behind starting to get to work on this?
What pushed me to begin writing was the desire to preserve these stories before they are forgotten. I felt a kind of responsibility to document the suffering, courage, and sacrifices of that generation in former Yugoslavia, especially in my country, in Kosovo.
Driton, what does your writing background look like? Do you have a lot of experience doing this?
Oh, not in fact in English language, no, because English language is my third language if I follow the chronology how I learned it. And this is my first book in English. I have written two theses before in English, but they are not published. And I have another book in Albanian published 10 years ago. I think this is the second one and the most important one.
So once you started Through the Flames of Kosovo, was this a long process overall for you? The writing, the research, the publishing, all that?
Yes. In fact, the book took a considerable amount of time to complete, as it involved collecting, organizing, and carefully presenting real-life memories and experiences. It was not just writing, it was also reflection and responsibility toward the truth. I think it took about 1 year to collect all these ideas, organize, reorganize, write them down, and rewrite them into my mother tongue Albanian language. And then another year to put it in English, and then editing to going through the process until it finally published in early October 2025.
Yeah, there's also a lot involved in the publishing process. Once you started working with your publisher, Newman Springs, was there anything about that you found particularly challenging for you?
Oh, in fact, it was at the early beginning because it was just finding them out through the internet. I didn't have any experience in the United States, so who to trust and so on. But then after the following of the watching their website and the information, everything was clear over there. And I enjoyed working with them. It was a hard process for me because I'm not a native in English, but still the great part was done to put it and compile it in the English language. And then the other side, all the other correction and editing was done by Newman Springs Publishing. I'm very thankful to them for making this possible.
And whenever it was finally real, the finished product came in, the first copy of Through the Flames of Kosovo was in your hands, Driton. What was that moment like for you?
Absolutely. I got for the first time, I got 10 copies. So here in Germany, where I am actually, holding my published book for the first time was an emotional moment. I felt like a dream realized, pride, gratitude, and a sense of responsibility all at once. I'm thankful for that, and it is very, very emotional and very, very important and very interesting as well.
What an intriguing book. Again, it's titled Through the Flames of Kosovo. This is written by Driton Morina and published by Newman Springs Publishing. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Driton, it's been really nice to speak with you tonight. Thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Corey, for having me.
Michelle Brignone offers a thought-provoking discussion, inviting readers to reflect on whether their beliefs reflect their daily actions. In her new book, What Do You Believe? Addressing the disconnect between our actions and our stated beliefs. And Michelle is joining me here right now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to talk all about her book. Michelle, welcome. It's really good to be talking with you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy to learn about What Do You Believe? Michelle, can you tell me what you've written about there?
There seems to be a disconnect between our actions and what we say we believe. Most Americans say they believe in God, with most religions teaching peace, love, understanding. Yet, violence, hate, racism, misogyny, just plain selfish greed are flourishing. We see it on the news every day. I think we're floundering as individuals and as society and as a nation, really. We've lost sight of what we truly believe. And so we're being pushed and pulled with every gust of wind, cause of the moment, fake news feed, you name it. We're allowing others to dictate what we should know, what we should believe, and what we should do. And I think we're being played. So based on, what you can see in the news, I don't think our actions match our beliefs. If we say we, believe in peace, love, and understanding, we're kind of not practicing it. So What Do You Believe is a book of questions to help us engage in a little self-reflection and examine our beliefs and values to determine just exactly what it is we believe. And then we look at how those values shape our actions. Because once you know what you believe, you can use those beliefs as an anchor, allowing us to live a more honest life. It's not a book of answers, it's a book of questions.
Interesting, Michelle. What kinds of readers did you have in mind for this? Who do you think would connect with it the best?
Well, everyone, of course. I wouldn't put it in a religion category, but I know that a lot of publishers are. You don't have to be a person of faith to read the book, because everybody has a belief system, whether it comes from religion or philosophy, whatever it is, everyone has a belief system. So it's just those hoping to live a more honest life of, the disconnect is really hard for people to kind of live with. It's stressful.
So you had all these observations about society. What was that spark? What inspired you to actually sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write this book? Watching the news,
getting frustrated. I started it before the pandemic, and it was just nothing but shootings, and it was just awful. Just watching the news is depressing. I got frustrated one day, and I was talking to some friends and family. We were talking about current events at the time, and they were just kind of, well, this is the way people are. And I'm like, no, it's not. People are genuinely, if you ask somebody, are you a hateful person? They would say no. Of course they would. Nobody wants to think of themselves as a hateful person. But do we remember that when we get online and post some hateful comment on somebody's blog or video online or something? We troll people online all the time. We say things we would never say in person. So I think there is a very serious disconnect between what we say we believe and what we actually practice.
Michelle, what does your writing background look like? Do you have a lot of experience doing this kind of thing?
So this is my first book. I am an attorney, so there's a lot of writing in that, more than I would like some days. This is my first professional writing that's not, legal writing.
You worked with a great publisher, Covenant Books. Michelle, was there anything about that publishing process that you found particularly challenging for you?
To be honest, they were fantastic. The only thing I found challenging was I really wanted to read it myself, but they like, professionals to do that. But yeah, I could not have asked for a better publisher. They walked me through, as someone who was new to writing, they walked me through step by step of, okay, well, now we're going to do this. And then now we move to the editing. And now, if you've never written a book before, you have no idea. You can sit down and write, but once it's done, you're like, okay, well, now what do I do with it? And so they were really fantastic.
Well, again, Michelle's book is titled, What Do You Believe? addressing the disconnect between our actions and our stated beliefs. Of course, written by Michelle Brignone, published by Covenant Books, and available pretty much everywhere like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or right down the street at your local bookshop. Well, Michelle, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really nice to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Kurt Wallace's new book is an inspiring reflection on faith and God's message of love and salvation. The book's titled, Everyone Needs a Little Jesus in Their Life Every Day, a simple Christian perspective that explains our devotion to Jesus Christ. And I'm chatting with Kurt right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we're talking all about the book. Kurt, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you today.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it. Good to be with you.
Kurt, can you tell me what you've written about in Everyone Needs a Little Jesus in Their Life Every Day?
Most of my life, I spent trying to study the Bible for many years and found it difficult. I just didn't understand how to read the Bible. And as I began to get deep in the Bible, and my pastor preached a sermon one Sunday that really just opened my eyes. It was on John 3:16. And I thought, wow, how can that one simple verse be everything that the Bible holds in it? But it is. And it's a great way. And I thought, well, if I could just share this with people, it may open some people's eyes and help them to understand, how to look at the Bible and how to understand what God has truly done for us.
Kurt, would you say this is mostly for believers, or could unbelievers also get some stuff out of this?
Oh, this for both. It's for that person who's kind of walked away from God at that time in the life I went for several years, and that's in my book. I just kind of wandered away, and man, it'll bring you back, and it's for the person who doesn't know Jesus Christ, but is wanting to know as a shorter version, so to speak, the Cliff Notes of how to get into the Bible, and I try to put that in my book.
So prior to this, Kurt, do you have a lot of experience in the whole writing and publishing thing?
Never published a book. I can't say I've read more than probably 50 or 100 in my whole life. I'm an average magazine and things like that reader. There's, periodicals, discovery kind of things, but novels and things like that, not a whole lot. But I love to teach. I teach a Sunday school class every Sunday. I love to share God's Word.
So once you got started on Everyone Needs a Little Jesus in Their Life Every Day, was this a long journey that you were on overall, the writing, then the publishing and everything?
Well, it took me 10 years to write the book. I started in 2015 writing the book, and I'd go back and forth to it. As thoughts would come to me, I'd write it, and my wife would prompt me every now and then and want to know, have I finished my book yet? And I said, no, I'm still. And I think truly it was a case of God wasn't ready for me to publish it yet. But last year, in 2025, I finished the book, and it was just as if you had closed the door. When I wrote that last chapter there, in my mind, God said, okay, you're good to go now. And I reached out to the folks at ReaderHouse at the Christian Faith Publishing. And man, they were just quick. I mean, they accepted my book really fast, a lot quicker than I thought they would. I sent it to several people, but they responded really quick. And the whole process from start to finish is 6 months maybe. And that's astoundingly fast, I thought.
Yeah, Christian Faith is a really great publisher. So once you got involved in that publishing process, Kurt, was there anything about that you would say was particularly challenging for you?
Well, when they asked me to go back in and choose the different things for the different advertising aspects of the book, some of that was hard to find. How do you find a musical tone or something that perfectly fits your book? How do you find the perfect image of that you want to be the image of your book? And it got a little difficult, that part there did. But everything else really wasn't hard at all.
There's nothing like getting that finished product. So once the first copy came in, you're holding it in your hands, Kurt. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, it was awesome. One of those moments where it's like hunting for buried treasure and suddenly finding it. I mean, it was one of those things when the book showed up. I live out in the country, and UPS delivered the box to my house. And my wife, when she got the box, she looked at it and she knew what it was because we were expecting it. And she was beaming from ear to ear. And is it what I think it is, baby? And I said, I think it's going to be my book, honey. Yeah, we were both blown away. We were extremely happy.
Well, again, this book is titled Everyone needs a little Jesus in their life every day. A simple Christian perspective that explains our devotion to Jesus Christ. This is written by Kurt Wallace, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Kurt, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really nice to chat with you.
Been a pleasure, and I appreciate you reaching out to me.
The new book, written by Kayla Van't Hul, is titled A Lesson for Smokey, and this follows a horse named Blitz as he sets off on a wild adventure full of magical creatures and new friends. Kayla is joining me here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we're going to talk all about her book. Kayla, welcome to the show. It's great to be talking with you.
Thank you so much. You too.
Kayla, can you tell me what readers are going to be in for whenever they get into A Lesson for Smokey?
Well, it is meant for enjoyment for children and for families together. And I'm hoping that they can just kind of, go away on a little adventure and have fun reading the story with it. To just be entertained and have some fun reading an adventure.
Where did the inspiration, the motivation for this come from? How'd you get that idea?
Well, I grew up with horses, and I've always kind of liked fantasy and then just kind of put some of those things together. Kind of created the character that way by real life. Like I had a horse named Smokey and then decided, about a story to put him in. And it was kind of actually just sort of a project for fun with school. And then I just kept it. And then I decided to put it out there and see what would happen with it and what I could do with it and put it out for people.
So do you have experience doing this kind of thing, or is this kind of all new for you?
This is my first book. Yeah. Working on also something else after this one now, but this is the first one. Yeah.
So once you got started on A Lesson for Smokey, Kayla, was this a long journey you were on overall, the writing, then the publishing and everything?
It was a little while. It was fairly quick writing, I would say, within probably actually a few weeks, but then it has been, quite a while to get it how I wanted and actually put it out there. So, and my mother is the author, so drew the pictures, with her. So part of it was, working with her too, that was kind of a neat thing, telling her the story so that she could, help illustrate. So.
And you worked with a great publisher, Newman Springs. Kayla, for that publishing process, was there anything about that you found particularly challenging?
I mean, I think that is a good word. It's a whole process. I don't think anything too challenging. It was just it was a new experience and just trying to ask all the questions and do what I thought that I needed to do. And it seemed like a good experience. So I think the challenging part is just sort of, waiting and then knowing kind of what's next or, is everything in line, that kind of thing. But
And then that day finally came and it all paid off. You get the first copy of A Lesson for Smokey in, and you're holding it in your hands for the first time, Kayla. What was that like for you?
That was exciting, seeing it all done. It feels like an accomplishment and like something, kind of worthwhile. So that was fun to see that when it was all done.
And you said you're working on more after this.
Yes. It'll be kind of a little different thing. Probably it would mostly be children's books that I would be interested in doing. But this one that I'm doing now is a Christian devotional. So I thought that would be a different avenue to take. So kind of a few different interests.
Well, I've talked with a lot of authors here over the years, and something I've noticed is how many of them also love to read as well. Kayla, would you call yourself an avid reader?
Yes, it's hard to find a lot of time with work, but I do enjoy it. I do try to read when I can.
What kinds of things do you like to get into?
One of my favorites is Evergreen. It kind of is a realistic fiction following a family, like through their history and some things like that. And then also kind of like mystery and fantasy and adventure kind of things. But
Well, so much of our listening audience right now, they're authors who are just starting out in this kind of thing as well. Kayla, do you have some advice maybe that you could toss out there for them?
I guess I would just say that they should just believe that they could do it and they should go for it. I think in anything, it's important to think that you did everything that you could, that you felt like you went for what you wanted.
Well, it sounds like children and families are really going to love this book. Again, it's titled A Lesson for Smokey. It's written by Kayla Van't Hul and published by Newman Springs Publishing. Find it pretty much anywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Kayla, it's been really great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Charles A. Purpero's new book, 29 Hours, a novel. It follows an ordinary man who gets swept into a fight to save America from a group of terrorists. And we're going to talk all about it right now. Charles is right here with me. Charles, welcome to the show. Nice to be talking with you.
Thank you.
Charles, can you tell me all about what you've written in 29 hours?
Well, basically, it's about a gentleman, Charlie Cooper. He gets up in the morning. It's his day off. It's his birthday, and he's on his way down, pay some taxes down at the federal building. And he wants to get down there bright and early so he can be one of the, the first few people in there because he's got his whole day planned. He loves the horses, and he loves going down to Arlington Racetrack. And he wanted to get everything done and then go in the afternoon and spend, not a quiet day, but just an enjoyable day. So, and he goes down and pays or he's getting in line to pay taxes. And as you read the book, you'll see he smells of the sausages, and he's just getting all hypered up, about getting out and getting his day going and getting the taxes paid. And then all of a sudden, things just start to go bad. When the day progresses to just terrorists are there. Then he finds out several hours later that he's into more than what he really thought. The terrorists are there, and then he's, the possibilities of being a bigger attack than they expected, and the president gets involved, and eventually they end up in Oregon or on the West Coast, and you'll read the book, you'll find out. I don't want to give it all away to you guys, but I believe it's a good book. I wrote it about 12 years ago, and what happened is I got sick. I had a diabetes problem, and my first publisher, she was more of doing the books and for me to go out and do signings, but she was not in the media, like Covenant is. They're the total package. They go and they do everything from the soft, hard Kindle audio book that just came out December 24th, and that's basically what I'm saying, because I have another book I'm doing right now. I'm at about 60,000 words, and we're hoping to get that out in the next 6 months or whatever. It's called Giuseppe. It's a mafia book. I consider it about 80% true, but we'll get into that later. Well, next time probably I'll be talking to you again on that book, hopefully. But no, about 29 hours. I've been hearing from everybody who's read it, how much they like the book. It's a page-turner. Last week, I got an audio book myself, and I spent the whole day listening to it. And when I got done, I went, holy man, who wrote this book? And I said, oh, wait a minute, it's me. I did it. So to get back to it from 0 to 10, and 10 being the highest, the worst I had was a 7.
Well, Charles, we have a lot of listeners right now, and they're authors who are just starting out. Would you have some advice that you could offer them?
I will tell you, and to all the writers that are, or maybe they don't consider themselves writers, but I tell them, if you're out there and you have an idea, go for it. Get together with somebody. There's a lot of publishers out there, but mainly just sit back, put your ideas to paper, and then go for it. Don't sit back. Well, a lot of people do. They just write a book, and then they figure, well, I don't think anybody's going to like the book, or, so they put it in their closet or in a drawer and they forget about it. But there's so many ideas out there by so many people. It's unreal. I've run into a lot of people who told me, and I told them, right, do it. This Cheryl, who was a friend, she was the one that was my first publisher, and she had 30 people on a Saturday that all come in with their ideas, and she helped them. She pushed them and got them to take a shot at their ideas. And, Corey, there's so many people out there, and I'm talking millions of people that have ideas. And I can sit here all day and say that, but the main thing is if they're out there and they're listening to me, Chuck Purpero, take your idea, write it down, get a hold of somebody out there, a publisher, and go for it.
Well, this sounds like a really exciting novel. Again, it's written by Charles A. Purpero, and it's titled 29 Hours, a Novel. This is published by Covenant Books, and it's available basically everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Charles, it's been really great to talk with you tonight. Thank you so much again.
Okay, well, Corey, you have a good day, and I hope any advice I give to anybody out there, I hope kind of pushed them in a good direction. But you have a good day, and thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few.